right, so I want to go over some tips and tricks for carving before you guys start today. All the underglazes are on the shelf. You guys have access to them if you need them. Please make sure you know what colors you're using. If you have any questions, message me. Before you carve, so your order is make sure your pot's smooth, you have your foot attached, your design is on there, then you're gonna underglaze it 3 times. If yours looks like mine, where I can still see streaks through it, it's gonna look that way when it's done and it's not gonna be nice. So like I could use another coat of underglaze on mine to make it solid. You want it to be solid, you don't wanna see any strokes of paint. It should be like solid black if black is the color I'm using. So I just wanna go over the carving tools. So all of these are on my desk. They are very fragile, so please be careful with them. When you're done, clean them, put them on my desk, but the tips are what's fragile. So we have a circle shape. We have this triangle, so this one carves out a nice V shape, the little rectangle shape, and then there's some other shapes in there too. So I wanna show you guys how they work. We also have carving tools that are more rounded with tips like this. When you're using the needle tool to scratch out your designs, the goal is to take the paint away from where you were having your lines on your drawing. So I'm gonna try to show you guys real quick how they work, and then you guys can get started today. So, let's see if we can get that set up there. If I'm using a needle tool, I wanna pull through straight. So if my line's going this way, I don't wanna draw like a pencil because that will cut into the clay. And you can see that ugly line it just made. So I want to pull, so push my needle in and pull. And as you can see, that made a nice clean line that way. Now, if you get little boogers when you're carving, you want to just leave them alone. So what's going to happen, if I try to smooth over this now, you can see how that's smeared white from the color of the clay into my paint, and it's gonna look like a messy blob like that when it's done. So if you make a mistake, just leave it alone. Now the carving tools. So this one's my square one. When I carve with this, you wanna push it in a little bit and then drag it. Carefully and slowly. You don't really wanna do a lot of turns. So if I wanted to make like the letter T, I'm gonna stop and then I'm gonna carve again this way. So I try to keep it in one direction. But you can see carving is removing clay, so that removed the chunk, and now I have my nice clean letter T. It's good to go. Now the other tools, so I have this triangle one. So this one, you can just push the tip in and it makes a nice V. So if I'm doing some thinner lines, this is good to go. You don't have to push very hard if your clay is soft. So if I was doing a lot of lines, this would probably be my choice, the one that's in the shape of a triangle. And then we have the rounded one. So this one's gonna kind of just carve out a bigger chunk. And you can see how it carves out kind of like a rounded shape, where this one is square and that one's triangular. Okay, so that's the rounded one. And then we have this one. So this one works good for 2 things. Because it's smooth and rounded, I can use it kind of like the needle tool, but it's not pointy. So if I just kind of push it in and drag it, it's gonna make a nice smooth line. Or I can use it this way, where the point is going into the clay like a carving tool, and I pull it, and that'll make a nice clean line too. So you guys can see how that works. So take your time when you do this. Remember, if you have little curlies on there, don't go like this, because you see how that ruins my underglaze. So we wanna keep the underglaze clean. I wanna try to keep my hands off of the outside while I'm working on it. So if you have a cup, you wanna kind of hold it on the inside while you're working on it so you're not smearing the underglaze everywhere. All right, now if you guys have any questions today about your colors, how to carve, where to start, please message me on Teams. Otherwise, you guys are good to go, and I'll see you later this week.